GoNintendo podcast, Webisode 517, the Munna podcast. Munna is a pink, nearly spherical quadruped Pokemon of indefinable basis. It has 4 tiny tampered limbs and a tapered snout that largely obscures its sizable mouth. It has shiny oval red eyes and 2 discernible upper eyelashes. Between its eyes is an oval spot in a darker shade of pink, from which Munna can expel dream mist. Purple 5-petal flower markings with dark pink centers ornament much of its body. It is able to constantly float in the air. Munna is able to eat the dreams of people and Pokemon, as well as project these dreams by expelling dream mist. A person whose dream was eaten by Munna will forget the dream's contents. The dream mist will be pink if the dream was pleasant. However, Munna can seek out and cure people and Pokemon who are having nightmares. There you go, that's Munna. It's number 517. It's a psychic type Pokemon, and obviously I'm not going to tell you what it evolves into because that's not what we do here. Hi everybody. It's just me for today's show. I guess it's not going to be just me because here's the cat. No. All right, cat, come on. As I had said on the site, we aren't doing the regular show tomorrow because we will not be around tomorrow. We are getting ready to go on our yearly family vacation to North Carolina. And that means tonight, somewhere around midnight, we're hopping in the car and we're driving 7 hours, give or take, to North Carolina. So that's what I'm doing with my night tonight. And obviously that means I won't be here tomorrow to record the podcast. You might see Mom Brain walking around in the background. She's getting stuff ready for the trip, and then she is going to take a nap because one of us needs to have some energy tonight while driving. And Mom Brain does most of the driving because I'm a wiener when it comes to driving. I'm very nervous. I don't know. I just feel nervous when I'm driving. I don't trust other people. And I don't really trust myself. You'd think if I play video games all the time, I'd be into driving, but not when you can really hurt people. But yeah, so we're leaving around midnight tonight. But the show must go on as it always does. So that means I'm doing the podcast by myself. And thank you to those of you that have joined me for the show in the live stream or watching the live stream and in the chat room. I appreciate it. When it's just me, it's pretty much just news because that's all I can really do by myself. Music wouldn't be very fun because I'd know the answer. And but I can tell you about what I played and stuff like that. And to tell you the truth, I haven't played much because I've been super busy lately. But anyway, yes, a mellow podcast. That's true. Hello, Super Nazi and Asian Style and Metasov and Game Freak and Floody and Red Link and SD Sick Hero and Twisted N and all the others. Sorry, I'm getting text messages from people that are already in North Carolina. Part of the family, or much of the family, I should say, drives down today because our vacation starts tomorrow, technically. We rent a house for a week. And we don't get into the house tomorrow until around like 3, but driving into North Carolina tomorrow, if you were to get there anywhere after the morning, it's a nightmare getting onto like the island because it's Outer Banks because there's so much traffic. Plus, you spend all day in the car and you're like wiped out by the time you get there. So your first day of vacation is kind of... So that's why most people go down today. Most people in our family anyway. But I have to work. So that's why I'm here. So that's why we're not leaving now. I do my full day's worth of work and then we hop in the car and we go. So yeah. They're living it up down there already. I'm here. But anyway, so mostly news today. And I apologize for it being a more quiet show than usual because it's just me. Let's see what we had in the news this week. According to some reports coming out of Japan, Splatoon is the highest selling Wii U eShop game of all time. Now that number pertains to just Japan specifically. I'm not sure what the highest selling Wii U eShop game is here in North America, but obviously, while there are digital sales in Japan, there's Europe and North America have taken to it a lot more. I would say even America more so than Europe. But it's a good sign for digital sales in Japan. So Splatoon takes the top spot for biggest selling Wii U eShop game of all time. We don't have the number, but we do know what the previous total was for the previous king. And the previous king was Dragon Quest X. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's not true at all. The previous top seller was Dragon Quest X, and we don't have the number for that, but we do know that Splatoon, as of last week, sold 57,000 units digitally. So we don't know what it's at right now, but 57,000 units digital. Now, we know the title sold over 1 million worldwide. So in the grand scheme of things, 57,000 might not seem like that much, but when you consider it's Japan and they very much prefer retail games over digital, it makes a big difference. Because I wonder why so many went digital. Well, I think we were hearing there were some shortages at retail, so maybe that pushed it. But one way or the other, Japan has really picked up on Splatoon, and they're really enjoying it. I think last total I heard was 400,000 units sold in Japan alone. And obviously the total now worldwide is over 1 million. We just don't know what it's at. But I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see Japan embracing not only Splatoon, but embracing the digital side of things. My beard is looking better than usual today, says Game Freak. I think it's where I'm sitting and the light. And to tell you the truth, I haven't showered yet today. I thought I looked like crap. Look at this. I look terrible. Not that I ever look good, but look, I look like garbage. But maybe that's the secret. I hear beach hair is the way to go. So maybe I just won't shower the whole time I'm in the beach, and my beard will look great for next week's next week's podcast. Somebody said, do I have a ponytail? Yes, I have a ponytail. I may be bald up top, but the Friar Tuck hair grows forever, so I refuse to let it go. And I know it's hideous, but I enjoy it. 8-Bit Boy has a first comment, and he says, take note, Nintendo. Please make more new IPs. Good games will sell regardless. No need to shove Mario or Metroid where it doesn't belong. Obviously, Nintendo fans like their franchises. That's very well known. And obviously, Nintendo likes putting out new iterations or installments of their franchises. That's also very well known. But they took a big chance with Splatoon, and unfortunately, the Wii U isn't the best-selling console out there. Certainly not even the best for Nintendo. And it hurts a little bit more coming after the super success of the Wii to see the Wii U struggling so much. But even with all those factors against it, Splatoon managed to sell 1 million units, so it's really encouraging. I'm sure Splatoon is going to become a franchise for Nintendo now. I don't know when or where we'll see the next installment, but now that they've seen that there's a market for it, and even the smaller install base on the Wii U is willing to pick it up, gives them a little more assurance that this is something that they could return to in the future, and perhaps they could pay attention to more original IPs as well. Obviously, we wouldn't want to see Nintendo's stable characters disappear because they're all working on new stuff, and obviously that's not going to happen. But there's certainly more room for more often getting new fully fledged experiences. We've seen lots of new stuff from Nintendo. I should say more traditional gaming experiences. We've seen lots of stuff from Nintendo that is new IP, but not necessarily what people would consider, new IP, like Wii Fit and Wii Sports and stuff like that. Whenever people say Nintendo hasn't done any new IPs, they ignore those games. So that's one thing. But they're thinking more character-based traditional gameplay. So the Splatoon results are nothing but good for Nintendo, and I'm sure we'll see more like that. But like that person just said, hopefully we'll see more new IP in general from Nintendo. Platinum had talked a little bit about working on Star Fox Zero for the Wii U. And they said it's a bit of a nerve-wracking experience because they're, working on one of Nintendo's babies. It's a big franchise. This is Platinum Games' Yusuke Hashimoto. He says, "This is the first time I've ever done this kind of collaborative design. It's not just with Mr. Miyamoto, but also with Mr. Hayashi. The three of us are always working together, and it is very fun. But obviously, when Mr. Miyamoto shows you something and it is like, what do you think of this? And you have to come up with a good answer. It's very nerve-wracking. I'm struck by how fast this goes. The turnaround between the exchange of the two parties is very quick. It's a kind of development speed I haven't really seen before. We don't want to make it a simple game by any means. The challenge for us is how to make a game that feels good and challenging for lots of different people." Yeah, Miyamoto is one of the most well-known developers in the entire game industry, and he's obviously got a lineup of characters that people are extremely familiar with, and has had great success with more titles than any other developer, I would think. So, you're going into a project and you're like, hey, we're working with you on Star Fox, and then you all collaborate on ideas, and Miyamoto's like, what do you think of this idea? You're kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to tell him it's bad, but you have to get past that stuff. You have to be honest. So Platinum is feeling their way through this experience. Mr. Yugo Hayashi at Nintendo also wanted to discuss the Walker transformation in Star Fox Zero, which a lot of people have said looks like a chicken or moves like a chicken. But he says it's not a chicken, and it wasn't inspired by a chicken. He says it's not a chicken, more like a dinosaur. Talking with one of the Star Fox character designers, since all the characters are animals, he thought it would be better to make this design also more like an animal. That's how we ended up like this. When you jump, it flutters its arms. That was all Miyamoto's idea. I don't know about dinosaurs. Well, pterodactyl flutters its arms. But I don't know about dinosaurs fluttering their arms. Some people would think that's what a chicken would do. So what is this? What is this? You can't put your... Oh. This cat, I swear. He goes for the plugs on the computer and tries to pull them out. Like power or camera or microphone, the important ones. So yeah, you can see why people say chicken related stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm sure once the game comes out in the instruction booklet or something like that, it'll have the official, the name of the transformation, and it could just stay Walker for all we know. But right now, we're going to go with dinosaur. First comment comes from Master Monster, and he says, let's see someone comment about how Miyamoto ruined their childhood by making the Walker flutter when jumping. Yeah, there are, everybody's different. I don't want to put down what anybody likes or dislikes or how they feel about things, but there are some people out there that will say little touches in a game will either make it for them or break it for them. So I'm sure there's someone out there that thinks the thing fluttering is a little bit weird, a little bit too much weird. Europe, this week's digital download. Europe has got Never Alone, which I played on PS4, and Nicky Hill downloaded on Wii U, and he played it, finished it. We both finished it. I thought I did like it. But I thought it could have benefited from a little more development time, a little more testing and tightening up of the graphics. Not just the gameplay in general. It functioned. It was fine, but glitches and stuff like that. And you would think some of those would be fixed in the Wii U release since it came out later than other versions. And for all I knew, maybe some stuff did, but it certainly sounds like there's some other glitches in there that weren't removed. Can I help you? You're supposed to be in bed.
I know. I need to put something in my belly.
So that's available in Europe. Also, Funk of Titans is available. Funk of Titans is a thrilling and addictive game. Simple and fun to play, but hard to master. You control Perseus, the son of Zeus and protector of the legendary holy music, the funk. Run across the ancient Greek mythology, collect funk vinyls, beat enemies, wear epic costumes, ride a legendary Pegasus, and smash, rap, pop, and rock of smash, rap, pop, and rock of the evil music titans in fierce dance battles. Man, I'm not gonna lie, this like mashup of mythological stuff and funk music, I don't know why, but it makes me angry. I'm not into it. It's just, you know, I don't want to judge the game on it, but that's not something that's going to make me pick it up. Every time I see like screens or the trailer, I get like an angry feeling. But if you like it and you're into it, that's fine. Mega Man Battle Network for Blue Moon and Red Sun are available on the Wii U Virtual Console. There's special offers on the Epic Indie Sale, which also came over to North America. It wasn't originally announced for North America, but yes, it is here. 14 Wii U titles presented by 7 studios. They're in a special Epic Indie Sale. If you own one of the more following titles on Wii U, you can download the others at a discounted rate. So the titles included in this are Bitra Presents Runner 2, Runner 2 Future Legend of Rhythmalia, Edge, Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams, Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition, Mighty Switch Force 2, Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive Edition, Rush, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, Spin the Bottle Bumpy's Party, Swords and Soldiers, Tokitori, Tokitori 2 Plus, Trine 2 Director's Cut, and Trine Enchanted Edition. So now's your chance to get some of those games cheap. G-Man Star says, nice product placement because I am drinking a McDonald's milkshake. I'm sorry if it's just me talking. I need a little sip. 3DS is getting Bike Rider DX2 Galaxy. And there's DLC for that, and that includes one stage of DLC that is free, the Moon DLC. Then there's special offers on other 3DS games. So there's your European eShop downloads for the week. Hopefully something you're interested in. Like I said, Never Alone is a very interesting and very cool, unique idea. I just wish it were better developed. KC44 says, loads of good sales and Never Alone seems interesting. This pleases my Never Alone nibbles. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I played it on PS4 and I certainly don't regret getting it, not by any means. It just, I like the experience and the idea and the unique elements of it so much that I wish the overall product was handled better. I think I talked about it, but they have like little documentary sequences that you collect as you play, and you don't have to watch them. You can skip them. But it really is like a mini documentary. I don't even know if I'd say it's mini. It probably equals out to like a half hour or something like that. And it's about the Inupiat. I don't even know how to say it. Inupiat. They're an Alaskan native people, and talks to you all about them and who they are and what they believe and where their folk tales come from and how they live their life and what their lands are like and just day-to-day life for them. It's really interesting. Very cool. I watched the clips as I played, so as I collected them, I would go in and watch a new clip. And that gave me incentive to go around and collect all the other clips because you have to find them. They're not hidden in crazy places or anything. Like they're all fairly easy to get. But it made me want to hunt them down because I wanted to see the next part of the documentary. So, like I said, unique. Give it a shot. If you got some extra cash in your Wii U eShop, go ahead. Mr. Sakurai says that Smash Brothers Brawl, the Subspace Emissary mode, was almost developed by another company. So this is an old interview with Sakurai that just recently got translated, fan translation, anyway. He says, in the first project plan, this mode would have been worked on by a separate company with oversight from us. For the evolution of Smash, simply increasing the number of stages and characters is not good. I've already reached the limit. From the production and playing perspective, if I don't spend enough time on a character, that character wouldn't receive the love that they need. The project would become bloated and disorganized, and verses would have no room to breathe. The previous game, Melee, barely made it, of course. Naturally, I will do my best, one step at a time. Therefore, I thought we could arrange the main team would work on the game in conjunction with another team who's working on the action game in a different location. Unfortunately, we could.
Good night, everyone.
Unfortunately, we couldn't find a promising studio to take on the contract. Well, in the end, everything other than the cutscenes was done almost entirely in-house. So they thought it was too much to do on their own, and they ended up doing it on their own because Sakurai felt it was important to have something like that in the game. Because this was the next installment of Smash Brothers, and he didn't want to just do more stages, more characters. A lot of people were upset that there was no subspace emissary mode in the latest Smash Brothers. And Sakurai said that's because people just played it, uploaded the cutscenes to YouTube, and then that ruined the experience. The King Up North says they should have made a subspace emissary mode or something like it in Smash Brothers Wii U. That's the main reason I don't play it. I don't have people to play with most of the time, and there isn't enough single-player-wise to keep me engaged beyond the initial hype I had for it. More characters and stages don't really satisfy me. I need a new experience. 3DS has Smash Run, which is kind of similar and isn't that great, but its quality and length is understandable since it's a portable game that otherwise has the full Smash Brothers experience built in. So it gets a pass, but the Wii U one would have been massively improved with a new subspace emissary sort of mode. I have to admit, I would have liked one too. I understand what Sakurai's saying, and I understand his disappointment, but I really did enjoy that. I liked the mode. You know, it was throwaway. You did it once, and that was it, but it was unique for Smash Brothers. It was fun. Plus, it gave us another way to see all of Nintendo's characters together in weird ways, which was, I found, really interesting. Sega has apologized to their fans. They said they're sorry for betraying us, and they're gonna regain our trust with more classic Sega stuff. This is Sega CEO Hajime Satomi. He says, as far as the Western market goes, we've learned a lot from Atlas. If we can make a title with proper quality, I believe there's a good chance for it to do well even in the West for players that like to play Japanese games. I've been talking to the employees about how we should start putting serious consideration into quality from this point on. That's such a weird statement to say. You know what I realize? People like quality. So from now on, us at Sega, we're going to make sure we consider quality when making a game. Especially in North America and Europe, where it's been more of a focus on schedules. I believe that if we can't maintain quality, it would be better to not release anything at all. That's certainly true. Since we're seriously considering quality, I can't make the promise. I can't make that promise for the time being, but I believe we will announce something for home consoles at the Tokyo Game Show. So, you know, it's a bit silly that Sega was like more worried about getting games out than the games being good. But the important part is they've seen the light, or so they said. They've seen the light. And they are apologizing to fans, and they say, look, we know our recent games haven't been too hot. We realize we've made a mistake. We've been focusing too much on getting games out the door rather than making sure the games are good. It's our mistake, and we're going to fix that. So, you know, a lovely thing to see would be a new Sonic game that takes that mentality and pushes it forward. But any game in general would be nice, but it sure would be a nice love letter to Sonic fans for Sega to be like, sorry, we've been screwing up. Here's how Sonic should be. Chosen One Knuckles says it better be available on Wii U too, Sega. Yeah, no specific mention of platform there. So I'll have to wait to find out what that's all about. When's TGS? In September? So we'll see something in September, I guess. At least, you know, I'm sure they can make an announcement even if they don't have a game to show. The late, great Gunpei Yokoi, who worked on the Game Boy and the Virtual Boy, this is another classic interview that just got translated. He talked about why he doesn't really like RPGs, why he's not really into realistic graphics, and why the Game Boy lacked color. So as far as RPGs go, he says, there's a huge variety of console games out now, but to me, the majority of them aren't actually games. The word game means something competitive, where you can win or you can lose. When I look at recent games, I see that quality has been declining, and what I'm seeing more and more of are games that want to give you the experience of a short story or a movie. This is most obvious with role-playing games, where the game portion isn't the main focus. And I get the feeling that developers really just want to experience the story they've written. So when you ask what I think of games today, well, it's a very difficult question for me. I end up having to say that games today just aren't games to me. The essence of games is competition, and I think that's a remnant of our past as animals and the completion of the survival of the fittest. Competition of the survival of the fittest. I think you see it reflected all through human history, how people with wealth and power want to have harems, acquire women, that kind of thing is at the root of humanity. You know, it's really interesting that he had these comments, and you have to wonder if the guy was around today, what he would think of what Nintendo did with the Wii and the DS, like especially the Wii, when you have software like Wii Sports and Wii Fit and you know, whatever the walking game was, you know, all that stuff. You have to wonder if he'd be like, oh, this really isn't for me. Because that's not where you win or lose. It was completely an expanded audience type of software, so it's completely different. By statements here, I'm guessing you wouldn't be too into it. Like I said, he talks about graphics. And he says, do these play worlds really need to be photorealistic, I wonder? I actually consider it more of a minus if the graphics are too realistic. There's a similar line of thinking in the entertainment world, using soft focus lenses when women are filmed, for instance. When that is done, each person can project their own conception of beauty onto the woman being filmed, and everyone will see their own personal Venus. If things are too realistic, there's no room for your imagination, and the reality of those faces you thought were beautiful will be revealed. Or to use another common expression, it's actually more erotic when a woman leaves some skin covered. If a video game doesn't have the power to display very complex graphics, I believe your imagination has the power to transform that perhaps unrecognizable sprite called a rocket into an amazing, powerful, real rocket. Well, he certainly wouldn't be happy about today then. But on the flip side, maybe be happy with Nintendo, because they are definitely not in the race anymore of having the most powerful hardware and the best graphics out there. And Nintendo definitely puts more value on artistic presentation than realism. And finally, with the Game Boy, he says, the technology was there to do color, but I wanted us to do black and white anyway. If you draw two circles on a blackboard and say, that's a snowman, everyone who sees it will sense the white color of the snow, and everyone will intuitively recognize it's a snowman. That's because we live in a world of information, and when you see that drawing of a snowman, the mind knows that the color has to be white. I became confident of this after I tried playing some Famicom games on a black and white TV. Once you start playing the game, the colors aren't important. You get drawn mentally into the world of the game. Actually, it was difficult to get Nintendo to understand. Partly, I used my status in a company to push them into it. After we released the Game Boy, one of the staff came to me with a grim expression on his face. There's a new handheld on the market similar to ours, he said. The first thing I asked was, is it a color screen or monochrome? He told me it was color, and I reassured him, then we're fine. When we were designing Game Boy hardware, we took into consideration what kind of software was going to be made for it, and I think that approach resulted in a very efficient product. Hardware design isn't about making the most powerful thing you can. Today, most hardware design is left to other companies, but when you make hardware without taking into account the needs of the eventual software developers, you end up with bloated hardware full of pointless excess. From the outset, one must consider design from both a hardware and software perspective. Man, that is really interesting, because that ended up being true. There were many competitors that came out in the Game Boy's era that were more powerful and had better graphics and had color screens, but none of them managed to beat out the Game Boy. The Game Boy was, without a doubt, the winner of that portable generation, the first true portable generation. And I remember, like, when I was playing Game Boy games, I used to think, like, oh, you know, it'd be nice if this was in color or something. But it wasn't ever a reason for me not to play a game. It was just, that's what the Game Boy looked like. Obviously, I was excited when the Game Boy Color came out and everything. But it's funny, because I was really into games. Obviously, I was younger, so I didn't have an expendable income like I do now. So I couldn't ask my parents to buy me everything. So I wanted Game Boy because I liked Nintendo and I really loved the games there. But then, like, especially when the Game Gear came out, I was like, oh, look at that. And I wanted to play it, but I never, like, I don't know. I never wanted to own it. I never heard about software that I really wanted outside of Sonic-related stuff. I borrowed a Game Gear from a friend once and had it for like a couple weeks and played some of the Sonic games, and that was that. But I mean, it's funny because let's say if I was the age I am now, back then, I would have bought the Game Gear without a doubt. But we all know how it went. Like, didn't have the same library or anything that the Game Boy did. So it's really interesting. Mr. Yokoi was a really interesting man. It's sad that he's not around anymore. I know towards the end of his life, his career at Nintendo wasn't exactly in a great place or anything like that. But I'm sure they would have gotten past their issues and worked together again. But I wish he were around. He's got some interesting impressions of the game industry, and I'm sure he'd have a lot more to say today, especially seeing how things went. Gusty Garden says the Lynx is better than the Game Boy. I played the Lynx once in a Toys R Us, I think. And I want to say I played Rygar. I could be wrong. But I think I played Rygar, and then that was it. Like, I never had an interest in picking one up. Did the Lynx have Pit Fighter? Am I remembering? Was that the Game Gear? I don't know. Man, my portable history before when the Game Boy was like the it system. I feel like I missed out on some stuff. I'm gonna have to go back and buy some retro things. We posted a video of a group of Japanese Splatoon fans that made a real-life Splatoon Inkzuka, like the giant shoulder cannon that shoots ink. They made a real-life version of it. They weren't firing ink when they were testing it. They were shooting water, but it's pretty impressive. You should definitely check this out if you have a chance. It is 180 centimeters. It weighs 15 kilograms, and it can fire up to 25 meters. It's pretty cool, and apparently this is becoming a thing in Japan, because today we posted another video of someone else making a Splattershot Junior. They took part of a real-life water gun and then made like a whole different body for it and turned it into a Splattershot Junior. Totodile says, that is awesome. They probably need to be more powerful to use ink or paint, though. Yes, that's very true. And I'm sure people would be happier when they're not using ink or paint when they're getting shot with the thing. Thank you, Gusty Gardens. He says the Lynx did have Pit Fighter. Dew Michaels is a huge fan of Pit Fighter. I mean, I played it. It's not a terrible game, but not one of my favorites. At the time, the graphics were crazy. They looked realistic for the time. And it had voice clips in it, too. Our friends over at Unseen64 have taken a look at the Metroid series. And, they're the kings of digging up juicy details and information we've never heard before about games that were in development, games that got canceled, games that came out, and we didn't hear all about the development process. So they took a look at the Metroid franchise, and they have information on some of the portable things that happened with the series. So Metroid Prime Hunters, we're all familiar with, came out on the sorry, SD Sicker. They came out, or that came out on the DS. Took longer than we originally thought, but it came out. And Unseen64 says it was originally pitched as a single-player game. NST found it difficult to replicate the feeling of a Metroid Prime console game on the DS. And there was originally no plans for online multiplayer in the game. But 3 to 4 months after the first demo was released, the idea was completely revamped to refocus on multiplayer. And the single-player content that was put together for the game was put together late in development. The infamous Metroid Dread, the project that Nintendo said didn't exist, the project that IGN said they saw. We've seen leaked footage of like 2 or 3 seconds of it. This is probably the most information you're ever going to get on Metroid Dread. So it was a 2D Metroid in development for the DS, and it took place after Metroid Fusion. Ideas for the game originally surfaced in 2005, and there were design documents, but pre-production didn't even begin on the game. NST was considered for the project, And Dread was brought into development at NCL at 2008. It was shown behind closed doors at E3 2009. So that we know is true because there was footage that leaked out of there. We have comments from people at IGN at the time that saw it. They saw a quick flash of Metroid footage, and they knew something Metroid was being worked on. Used a similar 2D style diffusion. And the Dread subtitle was dropped at that point, and then the rest is history. The game never came out. Got canceled for whatever reason. You know, I say canceled, but we don't know how much was actually done on it. It just got shelved or whatever. We never saw it. Metroid Prime Federation Force, if you want to know, NST is not involved. And they weren't even made aware of the game's development. They found out the game was being worked on when we found out the game was being worked on. So they watched the digital event that Nintendo put on at E3, and that's how they found out. So yes, the sordid history of NST and Nintendo continues on. Lemon says, that's some weird news. I still remember the Dread tease from a corruption scam, not knowing if it would have been 2D. I really wanted it. Why would Nintendo not put why would Nintendo not put the development of that, or this is worded weirdly, why would Nintendo not continue development on that? Or Next Level Games Metroid title moving forward. So we heard that Next Level Games was working on a Metroid, a 2D style Metroid as well. And Nintendo put the kibosh on that. So I don't know. Nintendo's been weird lately with the Metroid series. I mean, I don't want to blame it on one game, but Other M was not received very well. So I think Nintendo's next, obviously, Dread was around long before Other M was. But it seems like Nintendo wants to make sure their next step with the Metroid franchise is very calculated. I mean, look at, so NES had Metroid, Game Boy had Metroid 2, Super Nintendo had Super Metroid, and then the N64 didn't have any Metroid games. The GBA had Fusion and Zero Mission. The DS had Hunters. Wii U hasn't had anything except the compilations from what was on Wii, the GameCube, you know, obviously. So there's been other times in Nintendo's history where we've just had no Metroid for a long time. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be another Metroid game. Nintendo knows we want it. People at Nintendo want to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if it launched with the NX. All right. Nintendo has their deal with the mobile company DeNA, and we've known this for a while. But now their CEO has given some more details on the games that Nintendo will be working on. He says, I understand some people like RPGs, casual games. That's why we decided to work together to create 5 games heading on 5 different genre-utilizing IPs. We want to make sure, out of those 5 IP, that we can end up attracting hundreds of millions of people. So, they're going to be 5 games. Each one's going to have a different IP. And each one's going to be a different genre. Now, they didn't say what IP. So we don't, you know, could be Mario, could be Zelda, could be whatever, or could be franchises that are brand new. But they're all going to be a different genre, which is really interesting. So I guess, you know, there'll probably be like a match 3, a traditional puzzle, and an RPG, and I don't know, like an endless runner. I don't know what else. But we'll see the first game that Nintendo and DeNA are working at the end of 2015. So end of this year, we will see the first game that is the product of this collaboration. And the other 4 will be out by the end of March 2017. 2017, emphasis on the wrong part. So this is going to be a couple of years before we see everything that comes out of this deal. But at least we'll get to see one of them soon. The 5 games, like I said, different genre. Nintendo is the most crucial partnership the company has ever done, so they say. And it's also a big challenge for DeNA because people are expecting a lot. It's true. Nintendo has never done mobile. They're doing 5 mobile games with DeNA, so people are going to expect a lot out of these games. The Last Blade says, kind of reminds me of the good old times of Rare. Man, I'm old. Don't feel old, The Last Blade. I'm right there with you. And if you feel old, that means I got to feel old. And I'm not ready to feel old. Fruit Puncher says, Nintendo should give the game development of 2D and 3D Metroid to a respected Western developer. And Gusty Garden says, it'd take a 2D Metroid from I could take a 2D Metroid from way forward. I really like their hand-drawn artwork. Well, you know, I'm biased. I love Way Forward, so I would love to see them do Metroid. I don't think it'll ever happen. But I'm with you on that, Gusty. The next installment of the Yokai Watch series, or I should say the next true installment of the Yokai Watch series, Yokai Watch 3, is due out summer 2016 in Japan. So not this summer, next summer. Main character Kaita heads to the United States after his father is transferred overseas for work. And you'll meet up with an otaku girl named Inaho. And there's also a new mascot in the game, the yokai mascot USA Pion. And while Keita's story is centered on the US, the other two characters' story is centered in Japan. So you're going to be going back and forth between the US and Japan in the storyline. So the Yokai Watch series is absolutely huge in Japan. They've seen a whole bunch of releases and spin-offs, and we still haven't gotten the first game, but that's changing this year. Later this year, we will have Yokai Watch on the 3DS. I'm not even an RPG fan, and I'm really excited about this. So hopefully the franchise will become as big and popular here as it is in Japan. I mean, Disney's already snatched up the rights to the anime, so it's obvious that Disney expects big things out of it. And Nintendo is working very closely with Level 5 on bringing out the game here. So lots of companies expecting big things. SD Sick Hero, who's in the IRC right now, says, I guess Japan buys games in the summer. Ooh, take that, Nintendo. If you'll remember, like a week ago, I think, Nintendo told us they don't put games out in the summer because people don't buy games in the summer. Well, we can't buy games in the summer if you don't put games out in the summer. Dennis Dyack did an interview talking about Shadow of the Eternals and Eternal Darkness, so we have some new information on that. As far as Shadow of the Eternals goes, he says he's going to talk about it as soon as he can, but there's no announcement on it yet. He was asked about the Medieval Knight chapter that was originally in Eternal Darkness, but then was taken out. And this is really interesting. He says that section of the game was removed and rewritten because of 9/11. Anything to do with Crusaders at the time was considered too risky, and the game was almost canceled because of this. Thankfully, we were able to change it in time. This change delayed the launch for the GameCube, but we were able to do it and get the game released. I had no idea any of that happened. That's really crazy. And I can't believe Eternal Darkness came out after 9/11. If you had asked me that before, I would have gotten it wrong. I guess I would have gotten close, but it's crazy to think that it was that long ago. He talks about moving Eternal Darkness from the N64 to the GameCube, and he says, we created a new engine for the GameCube version, but it ran at 480p without extra memory. It was a technically very difficult game to get to work, but it did. Talks about things he wanted to change in the game. He says, the end game was on track with the original vision considering technological updates. We wanted to create a game where lots of people were going to die. I wanted to balance the magic economy more and not have it simply refresh over time. And he says the size of the Eternal Darkness universe is huge, vast. And he says there's so many more stories to tell, but doesn't go into detail. And finally, Mr. Dyack says that if Nintendo were to ask him to work on a new Eternal Darkness for Wii U or 3DS, he would love to do that. And again, I just want to point out, he did not say that this was something that he was asked to do. This is just his own personal interest. If Nintendo were to come around and say something about that, he would like to be a part of it. North America, this week's digital downloads. We got Mario Tennis. The N64 game is now available on the Wii U Virtual Console. We also got the Epic Indie Sale, which I've already covered. There's some other sales on titles like Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth, Snowboard Racing 3D, Eternal Blade as well. Camp Miiverse is going on, so you can check that out. Codename Steam's Supernatural Tournament. is taking place. New themes include the Etrian Odyssey Untold 2 story theme. Some permanent price reductions on games like Pyramids 2. Was $5, now $3. And that started today. Also new this week, Asteroid Quarry on Wii U, Dare Up Adrenaline on Wii U, Don't Crash on Wii U, Kitari, the 8-bit music maker on Wii U, Neon Battle on Wii U, Santa Factory on Wii U, right in the nick of time, and Land It Rocket on Wii U. Now, Land It Rocket is a clone of, I don't know, it's called Moonlander. I don't remember what it's called. Real old game. You're basically a little ship, and you have to control your fuel and your jet power to land on a specific portion of the stage. And it seems simple, but it's not as simple as it looks. And I had a lot of fun with that original game, so I'm kind of into this game. I haven't picked it up yet. I think it's like $3, but I like the way it looks. It's very simple gameplay. Nintendo has footage of it on his YouTube channel. But yeah, I'm kind of interested in it, so I might pick it up. If any of you guys have picked it up, let me know what you think of it. Gambler says, woo, Mario Tennis. Now I have no reason to buy Mario Tennis Wii U unless it's online. Well, you know Nintendo and online. Nintendo let out with their deep, dark secret about the 2 Animal Crossing spin-off games. And yes, they are considered spin-offs. Why do they exist? I want to get the exact comment. There you go. Why do these games exist? This is Nintendo's Aya Kyogoku. She says, initially when the amiibo were announced, there was nothing really said about Animal Crossing amiibos or any plans for that matter. But as the Animal Crossing team, we were confident that if there was one, it'd be really cute. Honestly, we just wanted Animal Crossing amiibo. We wanted the company to make Animal Crossing amiibo, so that's why we made a game that works with them. There you go. The Animal Crossing team was like, hey, amiibo are cool. Wouldn't it be cool if there were Animal Crossing amiibo? And the rest of the team was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And they were like, well, let's make some games so they have to make amiibo. And that's how it happened. So that's why you're getting an Animal Crossing board game and an Animal Crossing spin-off design game. Sissy Bokbok says, I have a feeling that in the case of Amiibo Festival, it's more likely that they've shifted the real Wii U Animal Crossing over to NX and threw together a party game with the assets they made. Makes sense if they want to make the NX announcement as impactful as possible. Well, that is certainly an interesting way of thinking. I never considered that. And then our final top story for the day. I thought about this, and I thought about it for a long time, and I never said anything about it, and now I feel like I should have, but I feel like people wouldn't have believed me. Mojang has said that they are open to bringing Minecraft to the Wii U and 3DS. It's something they'd like to do. This is Mojang's COO, Vu Bui. I have no idea how to say it. B-U-I, Bui. Vu Bui. They say, if I had my way, we'd be on everything. We want to continue to be available to all players, and that means being on new platforms because everyone uses something different. I've never heard a reason why we haven't ended up on Wii U or 3DS. It just hasn't happened yet. So he explicitly said in the full feature that he's never heard anything from Microsoft saying they couldn't do it. And as you guys know, Minecraft is on the iPhone. Minecraft's on the PS3 and PS4. So it's on platforms that aren't strictly Microsoft. I can't say I see Microsoft like chomping at the bit to release it for 3DS or Wii U. I could see 3DS more likely than Wii U just because Wii U is going to be on its way out, obviously sooner than we all thought, but sooner than most expected. So I don't see why they would put the work into it now. Maybe NX will be a possibility. But, I have Minecraft on a PS3 and PS4, and I would love to have it on the Wii U. I mean, the gamepad would make so much sense for all your crafting and inventory in Minecraft. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see that happen. 3DS the same with a touchscreen. I would just prefer to play it on TV. But it's encouraging to hear the COO of the company say, I haven't heard any particular reason why we couldn't do it. It just hasn't happened. And it's not like we haven't seen Microsoft do things with Nintendo in the past before when they had when they were, when Microsoft was doing video game stuff. We had Rare working on DS stuff and GBA stuff. So I agree. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think it might be too late for the 3DS now. I definitely think it's too late for the Wii U. But the future of Nintendo and their upcoming systems, cross your fingers. I guess send out tweets, make it known. Microsoft owns Minecraft, and they see how big of a title it is because of all the platforms it's on. So I doubt, like, if there's ever a Minecraft 2, they're going to say Xbox One only. They might do Xbox One or whatever the system is at the time. They might do that first and have it there for an exclusivity period, but I'm sure it'll come out other places later on. There's just too much money to leave on the table. Minecraft isn't like, a Halo or Uncharted or Smash Brothers. Like those games, I don't mean any disrespect to them at all. They're huge games. They bring in big numbers. They have lots of fans, and they make millions of dollars, but they are not on the same level as Minecraft. As far as overall revenue goes, like ignoring other platforms will cost you millions of sales. Wow. So that's that. We'll see what happens, but I found that very interesting. That's your top stories for the day. Like I said, I haven't really played much this week because I've been busy. I've been gearing up for vacation. I've been finishing up other projects. I've been writing stuff for Nintendo Force. My personal life's been crazy, like you guys know. Had my mom in the hospital for a bit there, so I've been, checking up with her, making sure everything's okay there. Unfortunately, I haven't talked about it on the podcast. Trying to decide if I should or not. We had a. I'll just say, just do me a favor and well, whatever. I'll let you decide. Do Michael's, unfortunately, his father passed away last week. So we've been, I've been talking to him and thinking about him and making sure he's okay and has what he needs. So I've been focusing a lot on personal stuff lately. I've still been doing the site like usual, but when my site work comes to downtime, I'm focusing more on making sure friends and family are okay. If I have that time and there's people that are in need and my friends or family, I'm going to be with them or talk to them or help them rather than play video games. As much as I like video games, but the people are kind of more important. So yeah, I've been sidetracked. I haven't had a chance to play a lot. But I have this vacation week coming up. There's always nighttime on vacation where everybody's in the house and we're just hanging out, so that's a great time to play games. My cousins are requesting that I bring down my Wii U so we can get some 8-player Smash Brothers going on. And I haven't done 8-player yet, so I'm down for that idea. It's a lot to pack up and bring down there, but it's Smash Brothers. Come on. And that'd be a good excuse for me to show them all the other great games on Wii U. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's my excuse for not playing things. And I think that's about where I'm at. That's all I got for you. We did the news. We did what we played. Gave you your Pokemon, and I have to get back to the site, and then I have to, do adult things like shower and pack the car. Adult things like shower. Pack the car is adult. Shower is everybody. Get the house ready for when we're leaving. We have someone to come here and watch the cat because, our cat's an asshole. And we can't, most people can leave a cat alone when they go on vacation. You put out a lot of food. Maybe you have a friend to come and check on it every 2 or 3 days. Clean the litter box, not us. Our cat's such an asshole that someone has to be at the house. It's like it's a dog. So we got to get things ready and all that. And that's why Mom Brain's upstairs sleeping, so we can drive through the night. I'm more of a night person anyway, so I'll be okay. But thank you for joining me. thank you for joining me for this podcast, this last-minute, randomly timed podcast. I appreciate it. I hope you had a good time hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead of you. It's Friday night, so hopefully you have some plans with friends or family, or you're going to play some games or just hang out and relax. Just not think about work. I was going to say school, but school's not going on. So, yeah, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And if you're nosy as to how our car ride is going, you can keep tabs on the Twitter account, because I might post a picture or two like I did last year. I'm sure I'll definitely post something. But I don't want to flood the Twitter with too much non-Nintendo news. But, you know, if something funny pops up, I will definitely take a picture. But that's it. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you again for coming to this randomly timed show. I appreciate it. And next week, we will have our show on Saturday, as far as I know. I don't think I'm going to do it early, because that means I would have to do it on vacation. We're going to do it that Saturday when we get back. And I apologize now for how out of it I'm going to be, because, 7-8 hours in the car, get back, and as soon as you get back, do a podcast. It's a little nerve-wracking. So I apologize now, but we will definitely have a podcast. So that's it. I've talked enough. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you next week. Goodbye, everybody. Burp. All right. I have too much to do, unfortunately. Get ready. So I'm going to go now. But thank you for the kind words, and thank you for the well wishes on the trip. And I hope you guys have fun tonight. Yeah, play some Splatoon. Get in on that new map. And that's it. So, yeah, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.